morning, good morning, good morning. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Clap your hands, clap, clap, clap. Stomp your feet, stomp, stomp, stomp. Spin around, spin, spin, spin. All right. Good morning, good morning, good morning. 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 Wash your hands, wash, wash, wash. Shake your hands, shake, shake, shake. Brush your teeth, brush, brush, brush. All right. Good morning.
I'm fired. Yeah, this is a professional show, don't forget. But we do this show every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 8 a.m. This is the morning show with Uncle Lou and BVD. Appreciate you guys tuning in this morning. Yes, forgot to turn the volume up again. Or maybe I was just trolling you. Let's stick with that. I was just trolling you. Ha 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 ha. You got trolled. No, clearly I forgot to turn the volume up again. Like I said, this is it. This is a professional show. So thank you for tuning in. But yeah, we do this every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, 8 a.m., the morning show with Uncle Lou and BVD. A sports-ish show, all right? Talk about sports, but talk about some other stuff too. If 100% sports is what you're looking for, tune in to Uncle Lou After Dark, Tuesday and Thursday nights at 10 p.m. Eastern. It's a call-in show. All sports all the time. So we mix it up here on the morning show, especially with us really starting to hit the off season now. We're always going to talk about college football. We're always going to talk about whatever else is going on in the world of sports, but we're also going to talk about whatever the hell else we want to talk about. Period. Yeah, everybody get a good night's sleep last night? I know for a fact some of you didn't. I know for a fact some of you are operating on very little sleep right now. Yeah, because I seen you in the middle of the night. Didn't see BVD in the middle of the night, though, so he probably did have a good night's sleep. So he'll be calling in here Soon, I would assume. Yeah. Hey, you want to sponsor the morning show with Uncle Lou and BVD? Go ahead and email us. crazyunclelou@gmail.com. Literally anybody can sponsor the show. It's not that hard. Send us an email. We'll work something out. No one has ever tried to sponsor the show, and we weren't able to get something worked out. So if that's something you want to do, let us know. We would appreciate it. Slim Shady Canes, thank you for the super chat, sir. Right off the jump this morning, you're good people. Both shins seemed a bit excessive, sir, he says. You either know what he's talking about or you don't. And if you don't, unfortunately, for now anyway, it's a little too late for you to find out. BVD, good morning, sir.
Sorry, I had my volume turned down.
Sorry
about that.
Don't play because I can turn you down at any time and blame it on
That's
you.
That's a fact. Good effing morning, you effing crazy effing guy. You effing. Idiot.
Fat-headed blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
Yeah. What'd you do last night?
I sat around and watched a couple of live streams, and I don't know if that was a doppelganger or a twin or something on the Uncle Lou channel that just totally came unhinged this morning.
Well, there's a lot of things that irritate me. In fact, I've made a whole video series about them. But 3 things in particular that, well, hell, might be more than that. Let's just count them off. Hypocrites irritate me. What else irritates me? Sleep streams irritate me. Trying to tell other people what to do irritates me.
This could be like a whole show topic.
Maybe I'll go live in the middle of the night and discuss it. Anyway, enough about it. He doesn't deserve any of my attention. I will say this, to his credit. He made an apology video this morning and deleted not only both his... I didn't even mention this in the video. Initially, that idiot had 2 sleep streams going at the same time. I didn't even know you could do that.
And you call him the idiot.
Right. But so anyway, to his credit, he did make an apology video this morning and deleted not only both the sleep streams, but both the lecturing videos that he made yesterday about telling people what not to do. So enough about that, though. Of course, the big news over the weekend, the passing of Kobe Bryant and that tragic helicopter crash. Him, his 13-year-old daughter, one of her teammates, her parents, and the pilot, 5 or 6 other people. I think it was 9 people total involved in that helicopter crash. So, if you do anything remotely related to sports today, anywhere, even somewhere as small as LouTube, I really don't see how you can start by any other way than by at least mentioning that and acknowledging that. I'm not going to get on here and pretend like I was some huge Kobe Bryant fan. It's not that I didn't like him. I'm just not into basketball. But Kobe Bryant is somebody like Tom Brady or trying to think of a baseball example. I don't even know who the biggest baseball player is right now, but like Derek Jeter in his prime or something. Like, you don't have to have been watching baseball at the time to know who Derek Jeter was, or you don't have to really be a football fan right now to know who Tom Brady is, or what. And Kobe Bryant was sort of that way. Certain people, for whatever reason, whether it's talent, charisma, personality, whatever, or a combination, end up being bigger than the sport, superseding the sport, whatever. Michael Jordan was that way, and Kobe Bryant was that way. I mean, I don't think there's anybody walking around yesterday that heard that news and went, who? So, anytime something like that happens, whether it's a famous athlete, when Prince passed away several years ago, Michael Jackson before that. I mean, there's a handful of people where no matter who you are, no matter where on this earth you are, you know that person. And, so I can't, I mean, there's nothing, I'm not, I didn't come on here with some speech prepared to say something profound that hasn't been said a million times about Kobe Bryant over the last 12 or 18 hours, whatever it's been. But, he's my age exactly. And that's a little, that was a little strange. That I guess I didn't even really realize that, but he was born the same year I was born. I don't know, makes you think, we all know we're not immortal, but, sometimes it takes something like this happen for it really slap you in your face. But what were you doing yesterday when you found out?
You kind of answered sort of maybe a question that I asked last night in my stream. Will this be one of those tragic deaths that 20 years from now we look back and say, I remember where I was when I heard about Kobe Bryant dying? And I'm starting to think this might be one of those. Now, I'm not saying Kobe was as big as Elvis by any means, but those of us that are old enough remember where we were, what we were doing, and all that when we heard the news about Elvis, and certainly some other larger than life figures. And I was actually at home doing nothing. Imagine that. When one of my friends texted me, and I didn't think he was trolling by any means, because I think I'm fairly fortunate enough to say I don't have the type of friends that do that kind of trolling. But yeah, I was like everybody else. I was shocked. I don't live on Twitter like a lot of people, so it was actually probably, I don't know, maybe a couple hours after the news broke that I heard about it.
Yeah. I was actually trying on a pair of jeans in the store, and I came out, and the guy that had let me into the worker bee, what had let me into the dressing room or whatever, was standing there, and he was on his phone, looking at his phone, and he said, "Oh my God, Kobe Bryant was killed in I think he actually said plane crash."
Yeah.
And I guess it literally had just happened, or news had just started to leak out on Twitter, like you mentioned, or whatever, and some of the details maybe were a little sketchy, but he was like, "Oh my God, Kobe Bryant just died in a plane crash." And I was like, "What? No." And he said,
apparently
yeah,
it wasn't even a big secret that he did most of his travel in a helicopter. I didn't even know that.
Yeah. And, the first thing that went through my head, and this is kind of sad, is I was like, oh, this is one of those, like every 2 months the thing go, oh, Betty White died. And you got to spend 10 minutes Googling to see if it's real or not. I was like, yeah, right.
Mm-hmm.
But turned out it was true, and just an awful story. I mean, and it just got worse as the day went on. As a kid in there, and I mean, you die in a helicopter crash. I get it that it doesn't really matter whether you're 41, 81, 1, 13, whatever. But we're humans, and there's just something about kids dying, no matter how it happens, that just always seems even less fair than a 41-year-old like Kobe. It's just, I don't know. I know really it doesn't matter, but I think most people will know sort of the feeling I'm trying or doing a really bad job of describing. But it just seems worse when it's kids for some reason. I think we're all that way. Even if you look at like shootings and stuff like that, like the Sandy Hook thing or the school shootings, like, I don't know, those seem worse than like maybe some other shootings. I don't know. It's just, it always makes it harder for me, I guess, when there's kids involved. And I don't know, it was just a sad story all the way around.
Yeah, someone actually mentioned to me yesterday, and I don't know if I agree with this or not, but someone told their opinion was, well, maybe it's a good thing that they were together, I, I don't know about that. Tell his other daughters and his wife that,
Right.
and see what kind of response you get.
Yeah.
I see the point they were trying to make, but there is no better, like when a child's involved, and I'm not going to lie, it tore me up, man. Every time I hear about a kid like this, the first thing that it makes me do is think about my child,
Oh yeah, if you have
and I'm
kids,
sure
for
you're the
sure.
same way.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what it is. Um, so some interesting things to me anyway about Kobe, or maybe I'll be honest, I don't have a lot of best memories. I kind of put that in the title just to maybe jog some other people's memory. I'm sure most people, if they were Kobe fans or basketball fans, have already been thinking about that anyway, just sort of some of their
Yeah.
favorite Kobe memories or whatever. I was never really a huge basketball fan. Now I was somewhat, or at least a lot more of a basketball fan in the 90s than I am now, or have been for the last 15 years. I was a huge Michael Jordan fan, mostly because my grandfather was a big Michael Jordan fan, and I was real close with him, and he just thought Michael Jordan walked on water. I mean, he just Michael Jordan and Bobby Bowden. Like, if my granddaddy could create the perfect person in a lab, it would be like some sort of combination of Michael Jordan and Bobby Bowden. Like, he just talked about those two people like they were, the greatest people ever. And if you're my age, and you are, BVD, maybe there's probably some hardcore basketball fans who maybe were fans of another team or something, so I understand that. But if you weren't a hardcore basketball fan and so just had to hate the Bulls for some reason, you were a Michael Jordan fan. The guy was unbelievable. But anyway, so when Kobe, of course, came out, and I think most people know he skipped college, and at the time you had that option, but he wasn't. He was only the fifth or sixth person to ever do it. But he skipped college. He had it was down to Duke or the NBA for him.
Who
And
were the others?
I
Since you mentioned it,
I would have to go back and look who the first five were. I don't remember, but he was
maybe
like the
somebody
sixth
could help
one.
us in the comments with that one.
And he was asked later about that decision, and there was a lot that went into that decision. I'm sure money maybe being part of it. A lot of things, I'm sure. But he actually said that playing against Michael Jordan was one of the deciding factors for him to skip college. This was 1995, 1996 when he was making this decision, and this was when Jordan was just about to retire for the first time. I think he ended up retiring for the first time in 1998. So Kobe was in the league for like 2 years and did get to play against Michael Jordan. And there was a famous game. I think this was when Michael Jordan came back out of retirement and was with the Washington Wizards. And Kobe was still a young player, had only been in the league 4 or 5 years, and wasn't really a huge superstar yet at that point. And the Lakers played the Wizards, and Kobe put up 53 points on him. So I do remember that. But most of my memories of Kobe Bryant as a player relate to early in his career, and like sort of his he idolized Michael Jordan as a kid, and he didn't want to miss the opportunity to play with him or against him, and that was one of the deciding factors for him coming out. And the other thing that I think some people don't know, he scored a 1,600 on his SATs, and doesn't he speak like 6 languages? I mean, he's like a genius. He could have done anything he wanted to do. So he just so happened to be blessed with brains and athleticism. Broke all the high school scoring records in Pennsylvania and the city of Philadelphia, and that's no small accomplishment. That's where Wilt Chamberlain played his high school basketball. So he broke all of Wilt Chamberlain's records. So it's hard really to realize, I think. Well, you know what? For some of the younger people, Zion Williamson is probably the most hyped up young player since Kobe Bryant.
Here's some names for you, Lou. Tracy McGrady, Sean Kemp, Dwight Howard, Kevin Garnett, Moses Malone, Kobe Bryant, and LeBron James. Those are the 7 names that appear when you ask what were the. I just put in who were the first 5 basketball players to forego college, and those are the names that came up. I'd forgotten about a couple of those guys.
That's an interesting list in that it's that small. Because if we want to bring it back to football for a second, you hear some people make the argument that it's un-American or somehow not fair or whatever. That because you can't go to the NFL out of high school. Period. You have to be 2 years removed from 3 years removed from high school, which is why they go pro after their junior year or their redshirt sophomore year. You have to be 3 years removed from high school. And you get people sometimes say, oh, how is that legal that they can do that, blah, blah. So it makes you wonder if that few people took up the opportunity to do it in basketball, how many high schoolers really would be prepared for something like that, to jump straight to the NFL? Very few, if any. Right?
Probably, I would imagine, probably a similar number.
Especially not linemen. Like that, I'm sorry.
Yeah,
I don't care. I don't care how many pancakes you got coming out of high school. You're not. There ain't no 18-year-old starting left tackle in the NFL. It's just not happening.
It's a very small number that start their first year in college.
Yeah.
At least big time college.
Maybe you look at somebody like a Trevor Lawrence. I mean, the dude is 6'6", coming out of high school, can already throw just as good as anybody in the NFL. Now, I don't think you would see any 18-year-olds starting at quarterback in the NFL, but with the premium these teams are putting on quarterbacks, maybe once every 10 years you get a recruit like Trevor Lawrence that a pro team would take a chance on, straight out of high school. Maybe a wide receiver that, he's already 6'3" and runs a 4.4 40 and can jump out of the gym and catches everything, and an NFL team says, yeah, we'll go ahead and take him. But man, it would be very few, wouldn't it?
Can you imagine an 18-year-old starting at running back in the NFL?
Oh God.
This would be ridiculously impossible. A starting offensive line in the NFL made up of 18 and 19-year-olds with a 19-year-old quarterback and an 18-year-old runner. They'd get killed.
You know who would end up drafting those players?
Probably my team.
Cleveland, Arizona, the Raiders, all these teams that already draft terribly. They would, they're just perennially so bad. I'm sorry, I know you're a Cardinals fan, but these teams who just have this reputation of just being the worst drafting teams in the league, that's who would end up taking chances on Trevor Lawrence out of high school or Jerry Jeudy out of high school or whatever. And yeah, it probably wouldn't work out that well.
Is that an NCAA or an NFL or a federal
I think
law?
it's an agreement between the NCAA and the NFL.
Yeah, that would make
because
sense. Even
the NBA rules, which people can correct us in the comments section because I am no expert, but because the NBA and the NCAA college basketball have changed this rule around a couple of times since Kobe Bryant has come into the league. Like right now, can you go straight to the NBA now? Or do you have to?
I honestly don't know.
Or do you have to do the 1 year? Because you get the whole one and done argument. Some people hate Kentucky because they call them a one and done. Kentucky just recruits all these players. They're just the one and done kids. Do you have to go to college now for at least 1 year before you go to the NBA? I honestly don't know. Some people are saying yes, you need 1 year.
Okay.
So, yeah, they've changed that. So that's one of the reasons that list is so small, because they changed the rule. But
Wonder
most
why
most
the
people are
change.
saying most people are saying 1 year, but it doesn't have to be in college. Somebody, you can go play overseas. Some people are saying for your 1 year, but you have to be 1 year removed from 1 year removed from high school. So
Yeah, one and done is definitely, I'm not going to say it's ruined college basketball, but it has certainly watered it way down.
I'll tell you this too, and again, this is from the mind of someone who freely admits that he's not a college basketball expert at all. When I watch the NCAA tournament every year, it's very interesting to me that there seems to be two different kinds of teams that go deep in the tournament. Your Kentuckys, who are loaded with NBA players every year, right?
Mm-hmm.
And your small, like really small schools whose roster is made up, or whose starting lineup is made up of all seniors. And nobody on their team is as good as the worst player on Kentucky, but they're a team. They've been
Which
playing
one do you
together.
prefer?
They've been playing together for 4 years, and so that camaraderie or teamwork or whatever that they've developed through playing with each other year after year like that is able to neutralize some of just the pure talent that some of the blue bloods like Kentucky and Duke and usually North Carolina, although not this year, might have. But you see these smaller schools, these Xaviers and the school. What's that school with that 95-year-old lady that beat y'all in the tournament a couple of years ago?
Oh,
Loyola of Chicago.
I think.
Yeah. Like nobody on that team was as talented as anybody on Kentucky's team, but it's probably all juniors and seniors, maybe one really talented freshman or something, but like it's a team, they've been playing together for years and years, 2-3 years, whatever, and so it
Didn't they
isn't
make
sort of
the
an
Final
interesting.
Four?
I don't even remember.
I think they did.
So it
I
is an
think they
interesting
did.
dichotomy, and that's something that I kind of like about college basketball that's lacking in college football. I mean, I know we get like the UCF every once in a while that might win a New Year's Six game, but like in general, and it's because even the blue bloods in college football, your Alabamas, whoever you want to name, even the super talented players that go to the big time schools still have to stay for 3 years. So, you get the benefit in college football if you recruit well of having the most talent and 2-3 years of playing experience, before you leave. So you don't get a lot of, UCF type situations. And I really don't think you ever will in football. I've always thought that in basketball, especially, one or two good players can, I make a joke all the time. I used to make it about Tennessee. Now I make it about Miami. Oh, they always think they're 1 year away. In basketball, you're always 1 year away. You don't need 3 great recruiting classes in a row to have a pretty good basketball team. I mean, 1 or 2 really good players can take you a long way in college basketball.
That's a battle cry for a lot of my fellow Tennessee fans right now. I mean, it's always been wait till next year for Tennessee football, but based on the guys we have committed for next season, it's kind of the same thing. Oh, you just wait till next year. We'll see. But yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah. Let me read through some of these super chats, BVD, and then unfortunately, we're contractually obligated to talk a little bit about the Pro Bowl. So there's 138 people watching now. We'll see how fast that number goes down once we start talking about the Pro Bowl. But who dat for life? Chris Fields, thank you for the super chat, sir. He says R.I.P. Kobe and Gianna Bryant. Alex, thank you for the super chat. He says, morning, Lou. It's easy to sleep when you're champ. He's an LSU fan. Celine Driver, thank you for the super chat, sir, and good morning. He says, who's going to admit they actually have such an empty life they watch the Pro Bowl? Pathetic garbage. It needs to die. Know who irritates me? Camaro owners. Stop with your LS fanboy silliness.
You have to know Celine Driver to understand that one.
Well, yeah, and even if you don't know him, all you have to do is know what a Saleen is and know that he is contractually obligated to hate Camaros.
I did not know what a Saleen. I mean, obviously it's a Mustang,
Yeah.
I think, but I mean, yeah, I learned a lot last Friday.
Yeah, Shelby, especially in the last 10 or 15 years, is the more like well-known rebrander, basically, of Mustangs. But Saleen has been doing it for a long time, too. Chris Field says, Kobe's death puts it in perspective. Tell your loved ones that you love them because you never know when it's your last time. It's true. I mean, and really, it's sad that as human beings, it takes something like this a lot of times for us to realize or think about that, you know. But
Yeah,
that's just sort of the way it goes, I guess.
us humans are a wily bunch. We need, sadly, stuff like this to happen. I think every now and then to rattle our cage and
Yeah.
remind us how minuscule we really are.
You sort of answered this earlier, or said something about this earlier I think you did, that you heard that Kobe travels a lot in helicopters. Is that what you said?
Yeah, I just learned yesterday that he owned his own helicopter and traveled a lot that way.
I was
Yeah,
thinking about sort of that yesterday, like I think most of us watching, maybe not all, but I think most have probably been in an airplane. I know I've never been in a helicopter.
I have one time.
So
One time.
I was curious, like, I wonder how many of these like super rich people that just becomes like an ordinary mode of transportation. I know, like in big city, like in New York, I've been in New York several times. You see helicopters flying around all the time,
Hmm.
and I'm assuming some of it is news, some of it is other things. Some of it, though, I think is just rich people that are going from point A to point B. I don't think they're going very far a lot of times. It might just be from one side of the city to the other, but I don't think, like, when I sit down and think about how people travel around, like, helicopter doesn't pop into my head, but maybe it's a more common form of transportation, at least among like rich people, than I realize. Because the only time we really hear anything about it is when, something like this happens.
Yeah. When I first heard about this, my having not known that he owned a helicopter, my first thought was, well, it was probably some little, 3 or 4 seat job that you see like the news crews have. But when I saw that thing, I mean, that's a large helicopter that went down. And the thing with helicopters is when you start having engine trouble in those things, there's no such thing as gliding to safety. And that's always been not a fear of mine because it's not like I'm hopping in helicopters every day. But the one time I did, I took a helicopter ride in Pigeon Forge one time, and it was literally like straight up and straight down, one of those El Cheapo helicopter rides, and I was terrified. My girlfriend at the time talked me into it, and the smell of jet fuel was terrible, and it was not a good experience at all. I've watched a lot of YouTube videos, people flying around in helicopters, but I don't know that BBD will ever have another helicopter ride, even if I were to hit the lottery. I'm not purchasing any helicopters anytime soon.
Yeah, it's funny because I've never really had a desire to ride in a helicopter. It's never really been something even that I've thought about. But when this happened yesterday, I remembered that last summer when we went to the beach in St. Augustine, when we go to St. Augustine every August, and we normally go with a big group of people, my in-laws and my Mrs. Lou's sister, who lives in New York, her family usually goes the same time. So all three of our families are usually there at the same time. So and they have kids, we have kids. So most of what we do when we go to St. Augustine is just pool, beach, because we have young kids. But this past summer, because of some scheduling things, we were there, and my in-laws were not there, and my sister-in-law was not there. So it was just the four of us down there. So after about a day or two, the kids were bored, and we were looking for stuff to do. And anytime you go to the beach, in the lobby of wherever you're staying, they have that giant bookcase of pamphlets of everything that there is to do around there, whatever it is. And so I went in there and I just grabbed one of every pamphlet they had and came back to the room and brought the kids and all in there, and we were looking through them. And one of the things that we almost decided to do was the helicopter ride. They have the helicopter ride. I think they just fly you up and down the beach line or something, or whatever. And we almost did it, and we ended up doing, I forget what we even ended up doing instead. And we said, well, we'll do that next summer, maybe when everybody else is down here, because their cousin would want to do it or whatever. So we said, well, we won't do it. We'll do it next time. And I don't think, if we get down there this summer and the kids bring it up and that's still something they want to do, I don't think it's I'm going to go, oh, I don't want to do that now because you remember Kobe Bryant. But because, you could get run over going to check your mail today. I don't think there's anything wrong with taking certain precautions in anything you do and stuff. But I just don't think you can live your life scared of every possible thing that might happen. I think what you miss out on will outweighs the risk of what possibly could go wrong.
What do you call those people? Lipophobes?
I don't know. And there are people that are like that. There's people they won't ride the roller coasters when they go anywhere. They won't they've never flown. They won't go on a boat where they can't see land. All these different kinds of things. And again, and there's nothing wrong with that, I guess, but just me personally, I try not to. I don't know. Like I said, nothing wrong with taking precautions, and clearly there's certain things I wouldn't do. So I don't really know who I'm preaching to here. I don't think I would ever bungee jump.
Did that one time.
Maybe I would do it in like one of those parks or something where there's a net and you're, so even if the worst happens, you land in a net. But these people who bungee cord off the sides of bridges and shit, no. I'm not doing that. I'm just not. And
human slingshot out of the question for you too.
Probably for the same reason. Yeah.
That's an interesting feeling right there.
Yeah. You've done that?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. No, I've never
vertical and horizontal. The horizontal one was, I'm still trying to catch my stomach from that one, and that was 25 years ago.
Would you ever jump out of a perfectly good airplane?
There was a time when I would have. As stupid as that really, sounds to me personally, I would have not. I wouldn't now. My health is such that, I land wrong and I'm paralyzed. That's anybody, you land wrong and you're paralyzed, but me especially with I've got enough metal in my back that Tiger Woods could create a new set of clubs. So, but yeah, I've wanted to.
I would like to think that I would, and I'll be honest, you said you used to would, and now I probably fit in that category. I think, from the ages of 18 to 25, I think given the opportunity and the right circumstances, I think I probably would have done it.
Yeah.
I think right now when I have a 10 and a 12-year-old, I probably wouldn't do it.
Exactly.
Now once they're off to college or after that or whatever, maybe. But I'm not going to lie. I don't have a lot of fears or phobias. I don't know. Even if I said I'm going to do it and signed up and went through whatever classes and all that, I don't know if once I got up in the air and that door opened,
have to push you out, wouldn't we?
I honestly don't know if I would be able to do it. That would be an interesting test of myself, I think, because I honestly don't know if I could make myself step out of a perfectly good airplane. I just don't know if once it came down to it, if I would actually be able to do it.
Do you know who Alex Honnold is?
Mm-mm.
He's the world's, I guess, greatest free solo climber, meaning he does all of these huge climbs without ropes. You should really watch I guess it's a documentary, free solo. He climbs El Capitan, which is, if you don't know what that is, it's this huge slab of granite out in Yellowstone, that had never been climbed before. I think free solo, he was the first person to do it. And there's people that climb different, uh, I don't know, I forget what they're called, different areas of El Capitan, and it literally takes like pairs of teams with ropes and those things that they sleep on the side of cliffs with, a week sometimes to climb this huge slab of granite. This dude climbed El Capitan in just under 4 hours with no ropes. You got to see that, man. It's the most amazing thing I've ever seen in my life. And I was literally sitting there watching this on TV, and you know how if you're scared of if you're scared of heights, which I am, and you stand up on the edge of a tall building or even in a glass elevator, there's no other way to say this other than your nuts start tingling. And that was a nut tingly movie right there. I highly recommend that to everybody.
I can't remember who this was. If it was a friend of mine or a relative or somebody I worked with, I can't remember. But they used to swear to me that they weren't afraid of heights. They were afraid of falling.
Huh.
And
Interesting.
I don't, first of all, I think that's ridiculous. The whole point of being afraid of being up high is that you might fall. But he was trying to distinguish the two. And like, if a tree falls down in your yard, a pine tree, and it's laying in your yard, and you step up on that tree, so you're a foot off the ground. To me, if you're afraid of falling, you won't get on that tree.
I think I get the difference. Like maybe he's not afraid to stand on 100-story building on the edge of it as long as he's strapped in and cemented to the roof and there's absolutely no possible way he could fall.
Maybe.
Versus some of these idiots that get on YouTube and traverse these ridiculously tall bridges just to see if they can do it and hang out. Oh man, some of those guys that will climb these bridges and climb these towers and stuff and hang upside down with no ropes, and adrenaline junkies. That stuff is just beyond insane to me. And part of that's, I guess, the fear of height and the fear of falling from heights, whatever
Yeah.
you want to call it.
Slim Shady, thank you for the super chat again, buddy. He says, I get what you mean, Lou. I think I think everyone thinks the same about a person dying young. I know I felt similar when my 21-year-old best friend and 5-year-old nephew both died of cancer. God, that's terrible.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had a friend die. One of my best friends from high school. We played football together all 4 years. You know, I would hang out at his house every weekend, or he was at my house every weekend. I mean, we were really close. I had, like everybody else, a bunch of friends in high school, but I had 3 or 4 guys I was really, really close with. He was one of them. And he went off to college at Georgia Southern for his freshman year. He came home on Christmas break. And like 4 or 5 days before Christmas, he was back here for Christmas break and got killed in a car accident here. And that's I mean, we talked about this earlier, how you don't really, I mean, it's not like we wake up every day going, man, I hope I don't die today. we all know we're not immortal. It's just not something you think about. But when you're that age, you do think you're immortal. 18, 19, 20 years old. I mean, your whole life in front of you. This guy had just left for college 3 months before this, you know, and comes home and he's just gone like that. And that, I've been to, unfortunately, a lot of funerals, and the older I get, I'm going to more and more. That was the saddest thing I've ever seen. And it was like, it was so close. I mean, it was like a high school graduation, but a funeral. I mean, that's how many people were there, and it was the saddest thing. I was a pallbearer.
What's the youngest age you can remember?
Huh?
Someone. What's the youngest age you can remember a peer of yours, or some, just someone your age passing?
Oh, that. Now, we did have somebody in high school that unfortunately committed suicide.
Mm-hmm.
I don't even think they were in my grade, though, and I was not even remotely friends with the person. Not that we were enemies, but we were just totally. We never hung out with any of the same people.
Yeah.
But I do remember it being a big deal at the school, and like they brought counselors in and, that kind of thing, and, announcements every morning if you're having any type of thoughts or feelings or this and that, you anonymously turn this note in and you can set up a time to meet with these counselors who we've brought in that. And I do remember some people being like really, really upset, missing weeks of school and stuff like that. But so I guess that was probably the first, but then my buddy dying a couple of years later was probably the next. Now, I had some relatives pass when I was younger, but again, this gets back to the thing we talked about at the very beginning. It's terrible whenever anyone passes away for any reason, but I just think we're kidding ourselves if we pretend that we don't feel differently depending on the circumstances, age, how it happens, is it expected or unexpected, and the combinations of those things. I've had grandparents pass away who were so sick for a year or a year and a half before they passed away. It's hard to see it at the time, but when I look back on it now, it was. I wouldn't have wanted to live the way they ended up living sometimes. And so it sucks at the time because you're losing a grandmother or whatever the case. But, for somebody to be 18, 19, 20 years old and perfectly healthy, and or Kobe Bryant, even 40 years old, perfectly healthy, and you're just here one minute, gone the next, that is always the unexpectedness, I think, of when someone passes away and it's unexpected, whether they're 60 or 16, is a whole different sort of process to deal with than, say, a grandmother or a grandfather or something like that maybe has been dealing with cancer for 2 or 3 years, and you've seen them go through the chemo and the radiation, and they can't get out of bed and they can't eat, and it's still sad when they pass away, and you miss them and you cry and all that kind of stuff. But again, you sort of look back on it later, and you're never glad anyone dies. I think people understand what I'm trying to say. I'm not trying to make it come across like I'm glad anyone would die or pass away, but the circumstances under which it happens, I think, does sort of dictate how hard maybe it hits you or how you react to it.
The reason I asked that question the way I did, when I was in 7th grade, played football with a kid, Brian Powell. I'll never forget this kid as long as I live, because we were the 2 kids on the team that were always the last 2 kids to come in. Like if we had to run laps, or where we practiced, there was a telephone pole a couple of hundred yards down the way there, and we would have to run to that telephone pole and back. The last kid back had to run it again, and it was always either me or Brian that was the last kid to get back. Well, during that time of my life, every weekend, every other weekend, my family and I would go to Huntington, West Virginia to see my step grandfather and his family. We're on our trip to Huntington this weekend and this particular weekend, and we get back. And obviously, back in those days, there was no internet, no cell phones, no nothing like that. We get back, and I'm back half a day, and I start getting phone calls. Uh, hey, have you heard about Brian? And I'm like, no, what happened? While I was gone, he and another friend were riding their bikes up High Street in Worthington, Ohio, northern suburb of Columbus, riding up the sidewalk heading back towards Worthington, and there was a big Shell tanker truck that was backing out of a gas station, backing out instead of pulling out. And the story goes they were racing their bicycles up the sidewalk, and the kid that was with him said that Brian told him, I can make that. And he took off and was pedaling fast. And long story short, that tanker truck backed over him and knocked him down off of his bike. And then when he felt that he had hit something, of course, he immediately slammed on the brakes. And, without going into a lot of detail, you can imagine what that looked like.
Yeah.
And so that's how Brian died. And to learn about that, at such an early age, that was, I mean, the whole school, of course, the whole town, everybody involved was devastated. But I can't even imagine, what his parents must have felt like. And the worst part of that, Lou, for months, when you would drive down High Street, you could see where that happened, literally like blood stains that they could not get off of the street from where that had happened. So it was just a reminder, I'm sure his parents probably quit going. If they're still alive today, they probably don't go down that way anymore.
Yeah.
But that's why I asked that question. That was, at seventh grade, what are you, 13, 12, 13 in seventh grade? That was, I mean, just earth-shatteringly devastating for all of us to hear.
Yeah, I mean, stuff like that. Anything traumatic, but dealing with the death of someone close to you or whatever, whether it's a friend, relative, whatever, at that young age can affect people for the rest of their life, in different ways for different people.
Yeah, it's a sad reality of life.
Yeah. I mean, and it's a reality that everyone learns at some point. When my mom died, this Christmas was a year ago. That was my kids' first experience with death. Some of their grandmothers on my mom's side, friends, have passed away over the last couple of years, and my kids might, knew their name, knew their face, that kind of thing, but nobody they were even remotely really that close to, and definitely not a relative. So that was their first, and this gets back to something me and you get back to a lot on this show, which is when you're a parent, everything that happens to you, you view it differently than if you weren't. Doesn't mean you view it better or worse, but like I remember being at my mom's house and all I could think about is how am I going to tell my kids?
Yeah.
That was my first worry or concern. That was that was what I was thinking about. Not, oh my God, I just lost my mom, I had plenty of time later to process that and think about that and all that, because that's important too. You can't just bury something like that and just, okay, let me just make sure my kids are okay and I don't have to deal with it. That's not healthy either. But
there's no easy way to do that.
No, but that was my first instinct and reaction and thought was, oh man, how am I gonna? That's not something. Listen, for those of you that are parents like me and BVD, you already know. If you're not a parent yet, you'll find out. You just cannot plan or think about every eventuality when it comes to being a parent. And clearly, I have known forever that eventually someone around my kids was going to pass away. But it's not something I sat around and went, okay, now let me develop a plan. And when something happens, this is how I will handle it. First, I will do this, and then I will do this, and then I will do this as it relates to my kids. You just don't, there's just a million things that happen to you as a parent that even though once they happen, you knew eventually, it's not really a surprise that eventually something like that happens, but it's not like you've spent a lot of time thinking about how you're going to handle it when it does. And so when you have kids, it just puts a whole different perspective on things, I guess. We talk about all the time. Waikiki, thank you for the super chat. Sir, he says, what's up, Lou and BVD? Well, I'm up barely, but I am. BVD sounds especially chipper this morning, which is good.
Yeah, this whole getting up in the morning thing is reminding me of what it's like to get up every morning.
You know,
kind of like it.
Getting up for me has not been new because, of course, I've got school-age kids, so I've been getting up at 5:30, 6 in the morning for a long time anyway. But being awake enough or in a mindset enough to actually come on YouTube at 8 in the morning and do something meaningful or that makes even remotely makes any sense, that's something I've had to get used to. Now during the summer, when my kids are out of school, I get up even earlier, which is strange. You would think it might be the opposite, but this, again, it's so hot in this garage in the summer, BVD. I get up at like 4 in the morning in the summer, and I come out here and do my videos so that I'm done by 8 or 9 in the morning.
Wow.
Hope, that's the plan. And I say it's not like I do that every single day, but I try to make that my schedule in the summer. And then depending on what's going on, sometimes there's different things going on, and I'm not able to get up at 4 in the morning for whatever reason. Maybe one of the kids had a friend spend the night or something, and I had to stay up a little bit later dealing with that or something, so I'm not able to get up. But in general, but even like now, if I didn't have the morning show right now, I would still be out here right now. But I wouldn't be filming myself even. I would be spending a couple hours figuring out, okay, what am I going to do today? What's the video? I'll maybe take a little bit of notes, do some research, whatever, so that by the time I actually start talking on camera to film myself, I've been up for 2, 3, 4 hours, whatever, and I'm wide awake. It did take me some getting used to on this on this morning. It's hard to be at full go at 8 a.m. when you're not used to doing it.
You stay up pretty late too, I've noticed, since I've started doing. Well, I mean, I've been a night owl for a long time now, but now that I've been getting to the desk earlier in the morning, I've noticed you stay up late, man. There's been nights where I'm like, dude, you need to go to sleep. You got to get up in 2 or 3 hours or whatever.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, well,
I'm trying to do better. And at the beginning of the year, I said, these aren't New Year's resolutions because in general I don't make New Year's resolutions, but these are some goals that I want to accomplish in 2020. And in order for me to accomplish those goals, I think there's some steps I need to take. One of them was the whole eating breakfast thing, which, by the way, I'm doing an amazing job. Since I went on this eating breakfast kick, I have only missed breakfast once.
Could you tell a difference that day? Have you been at this long enough to notice a difference?
Friday we went out to eat at a steak place. Everything was fine. Came home, did whatever, went to sleep. I got up early Saturday morning, came out here, I made a video about what was that? Prop bets for the Super Bowl. Went inside. It was about lunchtime. Ate 2 turkey sandwiches. About an hour later, my stomach hurt so bad I thought I was gonna have to get somebody to drive me to the emergency room. I mean, I thought somebody was stabbing me in the stomach. So something I ate was bad. I don't know if it was the turkey sandwiches I had here. I don't know if it was something from the steakhouse the night before. I was out of commission all day, almost all day Saturday, and about half the day yesterday. So when I got up yesterday morning, I didn't eat. because I after I ate those turkey sandwiches on Saturday, I didn't eat any dinner Saturday night. My stomach was hurting so bad. And when I got up Sunday morning, I didn't want to test it. So Sunday was the only day I didn't eat breakfast. And so I don't really, anyway, you said, could I notice a difference? I don't know if I noticed a difference or not, because I felt like crap anyway. So I don't know.
Right.
But I got up this morning and felt fine, so I ate myself 2 bananas, and I'm good to go. So, which is great. But staying up too late. That was another thing that I wanted to work on this year, was trying to get to sleep earlier. I go to bed early a lot of nights. Here's my thing. I can't lay in bed if I'm not going to sleep. I can't. It drives me crazy. If I'm tossing and turning, I just can't stand it. And that's what happened yesterday. I think I laid down at 9:15 or 9:30 yesterday, and I watched TV for an hour till about 10:30. I turned the TV off. Said, all right, I'm gonna go to sleep. I tossed and turned, got up, drank a glass of water, got back in bed, tossed and turned, and I can't stand that. If I can't lay down and go to sleep, I don't want to be laying down. So I ended up getting up.
How's Mrs. Lou feel about that?
Well, she doesn't want me tossing and turning either. The TV bothers her. See, it's weird. She can go to sleep with the TV on, no problem. But if she wakes up and the TV is on, then she wants it turned off.
That's crazy.
And that's what happened. She was hot. She got up last night and was hot, changed shirts or something. And so I didn't even wait on her to say anything. I just went ahead and turned the TV off, and that was at about 10:30. And I laid in that bed for 30 minutes and tossed and turned and rolled over, and I can't stand this. So I had to get up. So that's what happened last night. But I'm trying to, I am trying to go to sleep earlier. So
are you a TV on or TV off guy for sleep? Do you prefer? What's your preference?
I like to go to sleep with the TV on.
Yep, same here.
I usually put it on something that I can listen to without watching. So like a news channel, or maybe like Sports Center, or
movie you've seen 100 times.
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah.
It can't be a movie that I haven't seen, because I think I've talked about this before. If I watch 10 minutes of a movie and it looks good, I can't turn it off. The house could burn down around me. I can't, I just get hooked, and I'm in it then. And so I can't go to sleep. So if I try to put a movie on that I've never seen, that won't work, because if it ends up sounding good, then I'll just roll over and watch it. But something like Shawshank Redemption, or one of those movies, like Goodfellas was on last night, and that's actually what I had it on when I was trying to go to sleep. And
Bronx Tale is what put me to sleep last night.
That's a good one too.
Watching that one. Yeah, that's great.
It's a classic.
That right after I watched your video, I had turned on Bronx Tale, and I kid you not, it was the part after I watched your movie about that guy, the sleep streams. And I turned the volume up on Bronx Tale, and it was right when Sonny's calling C's friends joy-offs. They're a bunch of joy-offs. It's my favorite line in the movie. I'm going to make that a hot button for my show for people around here. Joy-offs. I know if you've seen the movie a bunch, you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah. Okay, let's for real talk about the Pro Bowl for a few minutes, and then I guess we'll wrap the show up. But I'm not, I'm not a very big NFL fan or whatever. The Pro Bowl BVD is completely pointless and useless. They ought just not play it. It's not football. It's not remotely close to football. That fat defensive lineman, who was it? Fletcher Cox, whoever it was, that there was an interception in the end zone. I forget who intercepted it. The defensive back ran it back to like the 40-yard line, turned around, lateraled it to like a 300-and-something pound defensive lineman. Okay? The defensive lineman then ran 50 yards for a touchdown, while literally like 3 people from the other team just ran next to him.
Yeah.
Didn't reach their hands out. I mean, made no attempt to tackle him. Derrick Henry gets a handoff to the right-hand side. A cornerback comes up and gives him a hug. That's it. Play down. There's no tackling.
Touch football.
Yeah, there's no tackling. There's hardly even any effort. Like I said, everybody loves when a defensive lineman scores a touchdown. But I mean, this looked like one of those videos that comes out once or twice a year. Not trying to offend anybody here. I'm not making a joke. This is what this reminded me of. These videos that come out where a high school basketball team has a kid on it who's autistic or whatever and never gets to play. And one game during the season, when that team happens to be up by 50 points, they put the autistic kid into the game. Everyone else moves out of the way, and they let the kid shoot 100 layups till he makes one.
Right.
That's what this looked like with this defensive lineman running down the field. No one even made any effort or attempt to strip the ball, tackle him, touch him, nothing. And the announcers were going nuts like this was the most amazing play they've ever seen. A 300-pounder, and he outran, and they couldn't catch it. And I'm thinking they're literally jogging right next to him. They could stick their hand out and knock him over. I mean, you know, by the time this guy got to like the 20 or the 15-yard line, he needed oxygen machines and all that. Like, it would have taken no effort to bring him down. But, and I get it, it's the Pro Bowl, it's exhibition. No one wants to get hurt. I agree. So just stop playing it. Do something else. The skills competition thing that they hold the day before, that's way more interesting than the Pro Bowl. Way more interesting. Watching that wide receiver, and I can't remember his name now, watching that wide receiver beat Lamar Jackson in the accuracy passing contest was great TV. Great TV. Did you see that?
No, I got there. I got there too late for that. When I came in, Russell Wilson was throwing at all the targets.
Okay, I can't remember who the guy was. Somebody will say in the comment section, but it's a wide receiver beat Lamar. Jarvis Landry. Thank you, Brody. Jarvis Landry beat Lamar Jackson in the accuracy contest. Now, that's the kind of thing I want to see, because you can't tell me Lamar Jackson wasn't trying there, because that's embarrassing. You're about to win MVP of the league, and you got beaten in an accuracy contest by a wide receiver. Like, that's what I want to see.
I found myself yesterday literally wondering if these guys hadn't scripted some of this crap, like before the game started. All right, hey, look, we'll throw an interception to you. You run it back, because I think there was 3 plays in a row where it was interception, interception, interception. I'm like, come on, this is bad enough already. You know, I think T.J. Watt had a pick 6, or no, a strip fumble 6. I don't know. It was freaking ridiculous.
Yeah, it's not fun to watch. I don't see how it can be fun to play. Slim says Sean Taylor was the last player to actually hit somebody in the Pro Bowl, and it was a punter. I have to admit, I don't remember that, but
they used to actually get after each other in the Pro Bowl.
I know. I remember, and I get it that, like, you know, even real NFL games now aren't what real NFL games were 20 years ago. So I expect some changes in the Pro Bowl to protect things and players, but it's so far removed from anything recognizable. It's just, I would rather see more of the stuff they do the day before. I would, even non-football stuff. I would love to see bowling. Let them bowl. You know, a bowling tournament. Throw darts. Whatever. Race.
There's
even.
Any number
put
of
all the
things
wide
they
receivers.
could do.
Maybe they do that already. I don't know. Put all the wide receivers out there, and let's see who really is the fastest person in the NFL.
Yeah, fastest lineman, like they do in high school jamborees.
Yeah, I would watch some of that. I won't watch another second of a Pro Bowl. That is an absolute waste of time. A complete waste of time. It's just, it's not football at all. Anyway, I had to get that off my chest. And do you have any thoughts on the Grammys? The Grammys were yesterday. I put that in the title of the video.
Yeah, I saw that in the title. I was like, oh no. I was on the phone last night with Carter and General arguing about something ridiculous, and I had the Grammys on in the background, and every now and then I would mention something to those guys, and they were both like, who, what, who?
Yeah.
And that's why I was asking, like, hey, do you know who this girl is? Hey, I watched maybe a half hour of it, like, kind of in the background, and I kept, the best part of it was Ozzy and Sharon
You know what? I didn't watch much either, but I saw that.
Yeah.
Ozzy didn't know where the hell he was at, did he?
Ozzy never knows where he's at. He is like the most frail-looking man on the planet
he's the modern day Bernie from Weekend at Bernie's. Like, I swear, they're just propping that guy up and toting him around at this point.
But if you watch him in a concert, man, it's like he comes to life.
Yeah, it's crazy. And Sharon seems just as bubbly and energetic and young as she did 20 years ago when Meet the Osbournes or whatever it is was on MTV. You know?
Yeah, that's called Botox and having a vagina.
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah.
I'm not a fan in general of award shows, but I am a fan of live performances, especially when maybe they mix things up and pair people together who aren't normally together, or
Metallica and Lady Gaga.
Right, like that. Mind. Yeah. And tribute performances are always interesting to me too. And they had a Prince tribute, and man, I love Prince and I love Usher.
Trevor Lloyd says Ozzy has Parkinson's. I don't know. Are you serious, Trevor, or are you? Because actually, now that he says that, he does kind of look like he has Parkinson's.
Yeah, it wouldn't.
I have to look that up.
But Usher.
Sorry, I didn't mean
not
to
good.
There.
If y'all saw the Usher tribute to Prince,
no, I missed that.
Not good. And it's a shame, too, like I said, because I really like Usher. I really like Prince. It was not good. And I remember when, and this was a long time ago now, but when Michael Jackson died, and this is somebody I don't like, Chris Brown, he came out. I don't remember if it was the Grammys or the MTV Music Awards or one of these shows, but he came out and did a Michael Jackson tribute, and it was one of the most amazing things I've ever seen. This thing with Usher just didn't work. Just didn't work out yesterday. And then they had other weird, stuff that just, Blake Shelton and Gwen Stefani, I don't know. Of course, they had to do a Nipsey Hussle tribute. It was okay.
Nipsey Hussle.
Yeah.
Nipsey Hussle.
Aerosmith needs to hang it up.
Oh, my
I'm
Lord.
sad to
say.
Some
of these old bands.
Steven Tyler out there yelling like a maniac. Every day that... Never mind, I'm not going to say that. I'm not going to trigger people today, especially considering what's going to be going on the news all day today. But anyway, what was I saying? No one knows or cares. Alicia Keys. Oh, they had Demi Lovato on there. And everyone, watch it, listen or read or whatever, any review of the Grammys today, all anyone is talking about is how amazing Demi Lovato did.
Okay, maybe that answer. Who was the gal wearing the yellow dress, I think, that was just beyond gorgeous, and the chick with the hair that looked like she had been permanently slimed, black hair with the green slime look to it. You know who I'm talking about?
No.
Just the towards the end of the show, the last half hour maybe. You must have changed the channel by then. You couldn't miss this girl. She had black hair, and literally the top, like her roots in the first part of it, looked like she had been slimed with the bright green color. I don't know who she was, but she was on there for a while. And then someone sang in a yellow dress I couldn't hear it. I had the volume turned down, but there was a couple of good performances on there, I thought. But
yeah, it was okay. Demi Lovato just got out of rehab, so I'm not saying it wasn't a good performance, but, and I'm all like, listen, I've been to substance abuse programs, so I've got no hate for anybody coming out of there, but the performance wasn't as good as what everyone is saying today. That's the point I'm making. This is great. Like any review you read today about this Demi Lovato performance, it's going to say how amazing it was, and then it's going to go straight into just got out of rehab, blah blah blah. So they inflate that. I don't like that. Like I don't know. I'm probably sounding like a dick now, but like I'm not saying she did bad, but people would not be saying it was some amazing performance were it not for the fact that she just got out of rehab.
Yeah.
And people pump that up like, oh, look at her, she. And I hope she is. Like I said, I've been down some roads myself, so I'm not knocking her in that way, and I hope she does come out okay or whatever. But they make this big deal. Oh, she wrote this song 4 days before she entered rehab, and if you look at the lyrics, you can tell how broken she was. And now look at her now; she's amazing. It's the best performance she's ever had. And I'm like, no, it's just that she just got out of rehab the other day, and this is like, let's go pat her on the back for that. And I agree, because a lot of people won't get the help they need. So shout out to her for that. And I hope it works for her. But the idea that she had the greatest performance ever just because she got out of rehab a few days ago, no, I don't buy that. Not for a minute. Tyler, the Creator, was probably better. Hell, Lil Nas X was on there, and that was probably better, to be honest.
That the Pink Cowboy?
Yeah, that Old Town Road.
Yeah.
Doo-doo. They were on there with that Korean K-pop band, whatever they're, BTS or whatever it is from Korea. You'd have to just see them to know, but
yeah, I mean,
you're a big K-pop fan, aren't you, BVD?
A big what?
You're a big K-pop fan, aren't you?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
In fact, I got some queued up, ready to go after the show.
Yeah, don't play it now. Last thing we need is a copyright strike for some K-pop, but I know you'll be listening to it the rest of the day, though, without a problem. Yeah, Celine Driver says, screw the Grammys and the Pro Bowl. I'd rather talk about the Royal Rumble. Royal Rumble was yesterday, too, wasn't it? Yeah, I guess it was. I quit watching wrestling a long time ago. I know the Royal Rumble was yesterday, though, because I saw a lot of people posting about it. Thank you for the super chat, though, Celine Driver. And Braves WS says, just made it to the show from PT, Uncle Lou. Physical therapy. What you working on there? That's something else I've been through that, too. You ever been through any physical therapy, BBD?
Oh yeah, I've got the bad back.
Man, physical therapists are some assholes, ain't they?
I was pretty fortunate, I guess. Mine wasn't.
I mean, they need to be, really, is what I'm saying. But they will, like, whatever you think you can do, they will make sure you do a little bit more.
Mm-hmm.
I went through it a couple of times with the knee surgeries that I had, and like, all right, let's see, how much can you bend your knee today, and you bend your knee like that much, and like 5 minutes later they've got it like down to there. It hurts like hell, but they know what they're doing. But physical training in the Army, he says, not physical therapy.
Oh yeah,
Physical
yeah.
training,
Duh,
okay.
PT.
Yeah. I didn't realize you were in the Army, Braves WS. I really don't think I knew that.
He probably knows a little something about misery and agony.
Oh yeah, definitely. Are you? Can you say where you are or where you're stationed? That's depending on the situation, maybe you can't, but you don't have to do a super chat either. You did a couple there. I appreciate that. Just I'm looking in the comments section now. I'm just curious where you're stationed at, and if there's ever a chance you would be stationed at Fort Gordon. You probably have to be in some kind of communications role or speak Arabic.
Are you familiar with misery and agony, Lou?
No. I mean, yeah. A lifetime's
it-
worth, but
I think it's Fort Knox. They have a couple of, I think there's 3 of them, maybe 4. I don't know. I can't remember the other names. There's like a couple of monster hills, I think, that they have to run in PT. One's misery and one's agony.
no.
That's what they're nicknamed.
No. What I know about Fort Knox doesn't have a thing in the world to do with misery or agony.
Okay.
Yeah. They keep all the gold there.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, nothing miserable about that that I'm aware of. Yeah.
I thought they kept all the gold up in Alaska, but I guess not.
Well, once they dig it out of the ground there, it's stored in Fort Knox, I guess. I don't know. I better not even.
You got to go there now.
Why does $1 buy whatever $1 buys? Like, why is that worth I know
I've
it's
always
very
wondered that.
complicated, and you have to be an economist to really understand it and all that. But like, do we really have a dollar's worth of gold for every dollar bill? Like, is that like, I don't understand. Like, it seems so simple. Just print more money. Like, you know, but I know it doesn't work that way, because then you have deflation and all that kind of stuff. So I get that. Brave says he's stationed at Fort Carson, Colorado, trying to get to Hunter Army Airfield in Savannah, and I'm working on helicopters, and yes, BVD, misery, and agony are my close acquaintances.
I get what you're saying about the money, though. I mean, why did they quit making the $1,000 bill?
Yeah.
And why is a $100 and the $500 bill? I guess they don't make those anymore either.
Yeah. I mean, I know you can't just okay, we're gonna print $1 million for everyone today. I know you can't just do that, because then everything would cost a million times as much as it costs today. I get that, but just sort of the whole idea of money and how it's assigned value based on all different kinds of things, but one of them being the amount of gold that we supposedly have and all that. I don't know. It's just, like I said, you'd have to be an actual economist to truly understand that, and to be able to explain it on a level where I could understand it. You would have to be not only an economist, but a second grade teacher. Because I would need it explained in a simple way. But it is kind of funny to just sit down and think, like, why?
How much paper do I have in my wallet today, and what can I get with it? You know? How much paper do I have in the bank, and do I actually have paper in the bank, or is it just some numbers on a computer screen? Yeah, I think about that all the time.
And if I have $100 in my pocket and I fly to Germany and I get off the plane, why do they take my $100 and give me 80 euros?
Yeah. Or if you go to Mexico, they take your dollar and give you 50 million pesos. Right. If you want to feel like a millionaire, go to Mexico.
Yeah. People I used to sell insurance down here in a previous life, and it would be so funny. I would go, and I did in-home visits, and it was mainly to retired people. I sold like Medicare plans and Medicare supplement plan. Anyway, that doesn't matter. Anyway, I would go to these houses down here, and I think most people that watch this channel are, generally speaking, located in the Southeast. I know not everybody is, but most people are, so you'll sort of understand the cost of living thing down here. So I would go to these houses, BVD, that down here are $400,000, $500,000 houses, and that is a mansion in the South. I mean, that is, a 5,000 square foot 3-story house with a 3-car garage on 2 acres of land. I mean, that is $500,000 will buy you almost anything you want down here.
That's the biggest house on the highest hill.
Yeah. And I would go to these houses, and I would sit down and I would talk to this retired guy who was from the Bronx in New York and was a trash man for 30 years and retired. And he gets his pension and he gets his Social Security. And for those of you that aren't on Social Security yet, what you get in Social Security is based on what you paid in. And clearly, the more you make, the more you paid in. These people would basically live like barely getting by in up north for 25, 30 years, right? Because I can tell you right now, I've got family that lives up there. For $500,000 up there, you're getting a 75-year-old house. I mean, you're not getting much for $500,000 up there. But they work as whatever, right? In this case, this guy was a trash man, so that was actually a state job there. So he had good retirement benefits because of that, including a pension. but then he also had Social Security. But then on top of that, he lived in a $500,000 house. But this is an average house up there, teeny house. But it was $600,000. But he lives there for 30 years, pays it off, retires, right? He's got his pension, he's got his Social Security. That's probably $3 or $4 grand a month he's making between those two. And then on top of that, he sells the little bitty house he lived in New York all his life. He sells it for $600,000. Comes down here, buys a mansion for $300,000, puts the other $300,000 in the bank. Plus, he's got his $3,000 or $4,000 a month coming in pension and Social Security. If you live in the South all your life, and you want to do that, you have to move to where when you retire? Mexico.
Yeah.
So that was the whole point of the story. You're talking about you go down there and feel like you're rich in Mexico. There's nowhere for us to move down here when we retire. We're already in the cheapest place.
Mm-hmm.
But you get a lot of retirees down here from up north who lived pretty average lives up north, but they retire and they move down here and they spend their last 20 years down here like kings and queens. And God bless them. I think that's great.
If we'd only been born up north, right?
Yeah. So I think I am going to move to TG says in New York, $350,000 is a good and new house. I don't know what part of New York State you're talking about, but you're not talking about New York City. I can tell you that right now for a fact. You're not talking about New York City, and you're not talking about any decent area of Long Island either. Because I've got relatives that live on Long Island. They lived in a $600,000 house that had to be 50 or 60 years old. Had to be. They lived in a good neighborhood, but
what kind of apartment does what kind of room does $1,000 a month get you in New York?
$1,000 a month in the city? That's all it gets you is a room.
Right, a closet if you're lucky.
Yeah. Mrs. Lou's sister used to live in an apartment in the city when she first moved up there, and she paid probably 2 or 3 times that. Mm-hmm. And it's like it's literally one room with maybe a second room for the bathroom, but it's like one of the things where the bedroom, living room, kitchen, all that, no matter what room you're in, you can see every other room.
Yeah. My brother lived up there before he passed.
Yeah.
And he lived in Soho.
Oh, yeah.
And it was ridiculous what he paid for a 1-bedroom apartment there. No, a studio. He lived in a studio, and it was like $3 grand.
Yeah, it's insane. My brother-in-law and sister-in-law who live up there, that $500,000 or $600,000 house they bought. I mean, this thing, like I said, it had to be 60 or 70 years old. I mean, it wasn't a rundown looking house or whatever, but it's nothing like what you would get here for that money. That was the point. And they've recently moved now. But anyway, so it was always funny to me to see these guys who would be pretty average lives up there for most of their lives, but then when they retired, they could move down here and live like kings and queens. And when you talked about going to Mexico and becoming a millionaire, that reminded me of that.
That explains the whole Florida full of Yankees theory thing.
Yeah.
That's why there's so many. What do they call those people?
Snowbirds.
Snowbirds. Yeah. I think they call them snowflakes or something out in Arizona.
Oh God.
Something like that. I don't know.
Well, you said
I'll never have that. I'll never have that problem. I don't know about you.
Yeah.
I live in a. This house was $20,000. I think my landlord paid for it when he bought it. So you can imagine what a $20,000 house in one of the poorest regions of the country. What you get for that.
Bill Flint says, "Tell you your camera is frozen."
Yeah, we're working on that, Bill. We've been working on that for a while now. Tell him, Lou, it's actually not frozen. I'm just the world's greatest mannequin impersonator.
He's either not moving at all, or he's moving so fast you can't tell.
Yeah, I actually just ran 3 marathons during this show.
Like the
Pretty good.
Flash.
20,000 buys a garage in West Des Moines. That's what Jeff Webster says.
In West Des
Hey,
Moines, Iowa?
I guess so. I don't know. Lou's
20K buys a
garage would be
garage.
a step up compared to where I'm at.
I mean, 20K for a garage, it would probably cost about $20,000 to have a garage built here. That sounds about right. I don't
I know
know.
you can get a house for like 2 or 3 grand in Detroit now. If you don't believe me, just subscribe to the Shay Show.
The Shay Show.
Yeah,
I
you
never
should
heard of
check
that.
that out, Lou. Being the real estate guy that you are.
Okay.
You really can though. I mean, you really literally can get a house up there now for like 2 or 3 grand. I mean,
Yeah.
it's burnt out and unlivable, but I guess basically you're getting a foundation and fraction of a fraction of a fraction of an acre of property.
You know the thing about real estate or investing in real estate, it's almost not worth it unless you have multiple properties, in my opinion.
Yeah, I don't
Like
know anything about
like
it.
5 or more, because what we have a rental property, and you don't really make that much on it. I mean, you make something, but like it's not like it doesn't matter what we make or what the house is, but like if the mortgage on a house is $500, you're not renting it out for $1,500. Like it doesn't work that way. You know what I mean? Like if you were renting it out for $1,500, then you would never have got the house for $500 a month on a mortgage. Like you know what I mean? It would be a bigger house in a nicer
Right.
area and all that kind of stuff. So
Hmm.
when you just own one rental property, you're not making a whole lot of money. And if one thing goes wrong in a year, depending on what that one thing is, in some cases you can be lucky to break even in a year.
Yeah,
I mean,
we
think about something major like a roof, an HVAC unit, something like that. You know, if you're making $200 or $400 a month on a rental property, you know, and you have to replace the HVAC unit that year,
you're in the hole big time.
you're lucky to break even in some cases. Yeah, we've gotten lucky with the guy that rents the place because he's I mean, we've never had a single problem from the guy. He never complains. Check shows up in the mailbox on time every single month. He's been there for 5 years, I think. So
That's
we've been
rare.
extremely lucky. Yeah. And he's military, so that helps. He's got, we don't have to worry about him getting, generally speaking, we don't have to worry about him getting fired or anything like that. So he gets paid. He sends the check. I haven't had any problem. Now, he's been there a long time. I'm afraid of what's going to happen when he does move out and we go in there, because literally everything is going to have to be replaced after somebody living there that long as a rental tenant. But
Hey, you never know. Maybe he's done a really good job of upkeep on it.
maybe.
Yeah, hey, you could be like my landlord. I joke and call him a slumlord, but he buys these cheap houses and rents them out for next to nothing, and hoping that he'll find, uh, you know, good tenants like myself that pay on time every month and make upgrades on the house. Of course, I haven't made very many upgrades on the house because I'm just not going to do it. I'm not going to improve the value of this house. So if and when I move out, he can charge double the rent for none of the work. Right now, we
Yeah.
already, anytime something goes wrong here, generally me and my roommate, we fix it ourselves. Or if it's something major, we call him and get him to do it. But I
And
guess I can't complain.
we don't rent that thing out because we wanted to, or we had some master plan to make a bunch of money in real estate. What happened is we bought that house in 2006. You know what happened in 2008?
Yeah, Philip Fulmer got fired.
Well, the economy collapsed. The housing market collapsed.
Right, right, right.
So that house was when we outgrew that house, started having kids, and outgrew that house. It was worth less than it was when we bought it. We bought at the height of the. A lot of people may be too young to remember this, but the economy was booming. Real estate, in particular, was booming, and we bought at the height of that in 2006. 2 years later, the bottom fell out, and so we couldn't sell the house. Really, we would have taken a huge hit on it. So we had to keep it and rent it out, and so that's how we kind of got wrangled into doing that. And when you go to buy a second house, you can buy a second house. You have to be a millionaire, or you have to prove that your first house is rented out and that the mortgage is covered and all that before anybody give you a loan on the second house. So we had to go through that whole rigmarole. But that's why we have that, not because we some kind of real estate moguls or anything like that. We got stuck is what happened.
Right.
And we've just gotten extremely lucky that the guy that rents there either takes very good care of the house or has just failed to ever notify us of anything going wrong ever. But so we've gotten pretty lucky there. But
hopefully it's a combination of both.
Yeah. Yeah. We had a bad storm here a few years ago, and I rode by because I'm like, surely something happened, and the guy hadn't called. I rode by, there was literally like a tree. Like, I don't think it wasn't through the roof, but like literally like a tree leaning on the house, and he didn't call. It was like a week, and I had to go knock on the door. I'm like, hey, I'm going to have to send somebody over here to take that tree off your house. I don't know why you didn't call me and tell me, but,
What was his plan? I mean,
he's, I don't want to talk about the guy. Hell, for all I know, he might be watching. Good morning, sir. But I don't know why he didn't call. But
maybe he was out shopping for a good chainsaw before you showed up.
Maybe. I don't know. Maybe. Anyway, that's going to do it for today, isn't it, BVD?
I do believe so.
Do we cover everything we were supposed to?
And then some.
Okay, good.
It's a full show.
It was a full show. And when are we doing this again?
I'm going to guess about Wednesday, about 8 o'clock-ish.
About 8 o'clock-ish is a good way to describe it.
Yeah.
No, seriously, this is the morning show with Uncle Lou and BVD. We really appreciate you guys joining us this morning. We were kind of all over the place today, but hell, that's kind of par for the course. That's kind of
what we want, isn't it?
Yeah, that is exactly what we want. So par for the course there. I hope you guys enjoyed some of the conversation today. We really appreciate you tuning in. And we do this show every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 8 a.m. Eastern. So make sure you continue to tune in. We really appreciate it. If you're listening to this later, after, thank you. We hope you're able to join us live sometime and participate in the comments section, but we understand different people have different schedules, different things going on. So anytime you can listen, we truly, truly appreciate it. Big shout out to the super chats this morning. Slim Shady, Chris Fields, Alex, Celine Driver, Chris Fields again, Slim Shady, Waikiki, Slim Shady, Celine Driver, Braves WS, A Typical Gump, and Braves WS again. Thank you guys very, very much for the super chats.
And I echo those sentiments, Lou.
Yes. BVD had a birthday on Friday?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Friday. So we did the birthday show on Friday, but if any of you weren't here on Friday, then you can finish the show up in the comment section by typing him a happy birthday now. He would appreciate it, but he turned 21 again for about the 30th year in a row. Is that right?
Yes, 32nd year in a row I turned 21. And if there's anybody in here that was in my stream Friday night, thank you guys so much. It was my the best stream yet that I've had for multiple reasons. just a great, great stream.
Yeah. It was a
Lou
good
was there,
show.
of course. Thank you for showing up, Lou.
The people treated you good that day, sir. They
They did.
blessed
They
you
were
on your
great.
birthday. They
I
sure did.
was.
They sure did.
Can't thank you guys enough.
Yeah.
Can't thank you guys enough here in the morning too. We get blessed every morning
Yeah. We
when we
really
do this.
appreciate it, guys. We really, really do. And that goes for everybody that comes and hangs out with us and watches. So Kevin Cook, George, Taco Meat, TG1395, SEC Dog, Snake Spencer 725, Celine Driver, From's Middle Finger, Formaldehyde F8C3. Thank you, sir. Very important viewer there from everyone's favorite Formaldehyde F8C3. Thank you, Snake Spencer, Jordan Bowman. Let's see, Jeff Webster, Snake Spencer, Brian Wallace, Dennis Wilson, Braves WS95, Jay Bolton. We really, really appreciate you guys choosing to spend some time with us on these morning shows. We have a great time. Me and BVD love sports. We love college football, but even we get tired of college football sometimes, or at least talking about it sometimes. So this morning show has been a blessing for the both of us. And the fact that you guys have chosen to continue to watch, even though it's become painfully clear in some cases that we're willing to do almost anything we can to avoid talking about college football. We really, really appreciate you guys tuning in. And who knows, I mean, hopefully you guys will learn some more about me and BVD on a personal level outside of college football, and we've been able to learn some more about you guys too.
Yep.
Also, keep in mind that we're open to having random guests on the show. Not every day of the week probably, but at least one day a week I think I would like to have a third person on. We had Celine Driver on last week and it went pretty well. So if you're interested in being on with me and BVD one morning, then please email me at crazyunclelou@gmail.com and we would love to get that worked out.
Yeah, and I expect to see there's 114 people in here now. I expect to see all 114 of you come on over to BBD Primetime tonight at 8 o'clock.
Yes.
We'll do this again. Lou will be there. He usually always is, at least for a few minutes. And you think we talk about different stuff here?
Yeah, just like the morning show. I want to reiterate again. The morning show, not a sports show. BVD's Primetime show. And please listen to me when I tell you this, everyone. The morning show, not a sports show. BVD's Primetime show, not an ass-eating show. Stop it. You guys need to stop that in the comments section.
We got some sick people, man.
My God. All right.
Bunch of fat-headed fuckers.
We really appreciate you guys tuning in. Join us back here Wednesday morning at 8 a.m. We're going to do it all over again. I'll be on Tuesday and Thursday night at 10 p.m. for the call-in shows. Tuesday night is the second round one game of the worst college football playoffs, where we have Arkansas taking on Rutgers, which I don't see how you guys have been able to sleep since last Thursday, waiting on this dramatic matchup, Arkansas versus Rutgers. But don't worry, we're just over 24 hours away here. Next Tuesday, tomorrow night, call-in show from 10 to 11. Immediately following that, game 2, round 1, worst of the worst college football playoffs, Arkansas versus Rutgers. Really appreciate you guys tuning in, and we'll see you again real soon. Have a good morning.
See ya.
Open the door so you would know that times like these are here to show. You can do things for me and more. I got your back, just take things slow.